Sterling versus Cejudo, who really won the fight? So I'm about to watch this fight for the first time since the weekend, and I'm going to score the fight round by round alongside with you guys as you watch. And I'm also going to talk about what each fighter did good, what each fighter did bad, and just some general commentary as we go through the fight. And as a reminder, with the unified scoring criteria, it is firstly scored by effective striking and grappling, followed by effective aggressiveness, followed by fighting area control. However, it's first scored by effective striking and grappling, and if that's 100% even, then you go to effective aggressiveness. If effective aggressiveness is 100% evening, then you score based on area control, fighting area control. And if you end up enjoying the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content similar to this, but let's just dive right into it. So while they were staring down, as everybody can see, obviously there is a pretty decent size difference here. Henry is pretty thick in terms of his frame, so he doesn't look too small, but just in terms of the height and size, I mean, you could just clearly see the size difference here. So one of the things you notice, at least for the first minute of this first round, is how aggressive Aljo is compared to Henry. Aljo's the one who's pushing forward, trying to land strikes, trying to cut Henry off, pushing Henry back. When Henry got this takedown, and I was watching it live, I thought, holy shit, Henry is going to just take him down at will, and he's going to dominate this fight, because he got this takedown quite easily. Now, obviously that didn't happen, but that's what I thought when I first watched it. But the other thing I want to just point out is, based on the unified scoring criteria, based on it, something like this, like when you see it, simply getting a takedown is not supposed to be scored heavily. You actually have to establish some sort of attack or some sort of more dominant position, or be moving around, establish some sort of dominance, some sort of impact, whether this is a submission attempt, punches, whatever, for it to really count. Simply getting a takedown in this current unified scoring criteria does not count for much, if at all. Another thing I notice here is that if you look at it, Aljo is pushing forward quite a bit and not really giving Henry any space to set up his punches or his kicks. And like this result here in this sort of sequence that they had, Henry was throwing a little bit wildly because of the pressure that Aljo was putting on him. He wasn't really giving him space to set up his strikes. The round ends with Aljamain on top like this after he had kind of taken Henry down and Henry was on the knee against the cage. I actually give round one to Aljamain Sterling. Now, some people, I don't know how everybody scored it, but if you look at it very closely, in terms of effective grappling, who had the more effective grappling? Henry got a takedown and did pretty much nothing with it, so they don't really weigh that heavily, or they're not supposed to. Aljamain didn't do too much either. The only difference is that when Aljamain kind of took Henry down like this, or in these grappling positions, he was throwing knees like this, and at one point he tried to take the back, which was trying to create a better, more advantaged position for him. So you could say that Aljamain maybe had the more effective grappling slightly, if you want to say that. So in round two, remember what I said for round one. One thing that Aljo was doing really good was when he was putting that pressure, Henry was having a harder time to set up his strikes and set up his counters properly, stuff like that, because he wasn't having much space to do it. This round, Aljo's not pushing on the gas as much, which makes sense. I mean, I don't think that Aljo feels maybe he could do that for 5 rounds, especially with the grappling. So here, Henry has a bit more success because he can push forward a little bit, set up his kicks better, set up his counters better, his punches better. Cejudo tried this straight right quite a bit, and it didn't really work on Aljo that effectively. But I will say that the straight right was very quick that he was throwing. However, I feel like if someone was a little bit maybe shorter and had a shorter reach, and a similar level of striking of Aljamain Sterling, I think they would have got caught with this straight right quite a bit. So here's another one of those right hands. Now, when I was watching this, I did think to myself, when he fights Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling that is, this is a pretty good shot, I think, for Sean O'Malley to throw that straight right, because of the way that Aljamain kind of moves and when he exits and stuff like that. I think the straight right is actually a really good shot for Sean O'Malley, and he does have the bigger reach and he's a bit taller. And see this kick, the thing I just pointed out before, the way Aljo exits, like after he enters his exits, he's a little bit reckless. And again, I'm thinking someone like Sean O'Malley, if he sees something like this, you know, when Aljo's exiting, throwing head kicks or punches or whatever, he can potentially land some clean ones, because Aljo's a little bit reckless when he comes out like that. Round two clearly goes to Henry Cejudo for having more effective strikes. Round three didn't have too much to it. You know, Cejudo was doing pretty good with the strikes. Sterling did kind of get him down against the cage, but didn't really do too much with it. And then again, when they were on the feet, Cejudo was getting him and then got a takedown at the end of the round. Round 3 goes to Henry Cejudo. Now, what is Aljo doing better in this round right away that we can just see? Being more aggressive and not giving Henry space to set up his strikes and everything else that Henry wants to do. And he's already landing better shots compared to the previous 2 rounds, better strikes. He's pushing forward. You can see he looks more confident. He's fighting more confidently, fighting more effectively, landing more effective strikes. So he's already doing much better here so far. At the end of round 4, Aljo's on top like this after getting Henry down from a weird splits position. So I would give round 4 to Aljo because I felt that he had the better effective strikes. Not dominantly, right? Neither sides are doing super dominantly winning on striking or grappling, but just by a little bit, I would say that I felt like Aljo's striking was a little bit more effective in this round. So I'd give round 4 to Aljo. So to me, and I think for other people, this comes down to round 5, I guess depending on how you scored it. And after watching the fight, based on effective striking, because that's where the fight, or this round, took place for the most part, I would say that round 5 should have probably went to Henry Cejudo. Now the problem when you're scoring these type of fights is upon rewatch you can just see, like when I'm watching it, I can just see that yes, in round 5 Henry did have the more effective strikes. When you're watching it live, maybe from the judge's angle or something, it's just still maybe not dominant enough to easily see that. But if I'm purely using the judge's criteria and just watching it like this, I can see that Henry won round 5. So I have rounds 2, 3, and 5 for Henry Cejudo, which means that I think that Henry Cejudo won this fight via 48-47 decision. Is it a robbery? Fights like this when it's like this close and neither side is super dominant against each other, tough to call these type of things a robbery. I think that Henry won, but if someone wanted to make the case for Aljo, I wouldn't freak out about it. Again, Aljo's striking style, while it's not amazing, it's not, it's not like he has some sort of huge power in his hands, but when he applies that pressure alongside his grappling threat, I think that sort of pressure that he creates makes it tough for people to set up their strikes because they don't have a lot of room to breathe. Now against Sean O'Malley, I don't think it's going to be that easy, but we'll see. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. I will catch you guys later. Peace.